Ohio. We're back
For Dak. Yes. And this time we're doing Samurai Champloo. Okay, so we've watched episodes 1 through 5, and we're here to talk about them. So let me start off by saying, first of all, I have seen seen this entire series. I absolutely love it. As soon as I wanted to do this show on my channel, I knew that I wanted to do this show because I love it. And it's been a while since I've gotten to watch it again, and so I was really excited to do it. So, with that being said, what are the rules?
So, since it's been a long time for both of us that we've seen this, both of us have seen the entire series, but we needed a refresher course before we could really make any rules. So, we actually went to online sources to get some drinking rules, since no one really commented on the last one from the season finale of Trigun.
Sad day.
So, we had to kind of make up our own stuff. So, we used someone else's.
Hooray!
We have a few more rules than we did for Trigun. We'll see how this affects the overall series. But rule number 1, anytime someone says whore. Rule number 2, anytime the main characters go broke, and we'll get into the details of them in a minute.
Yes.
Number 3, anytime the main characters drink. Rule number 4, anytime the guys ditch foo.
Yes.
Number 5, someone dies.
Oh, God.
Beware. Beware.
Yeah, that's our Vash the Stampede. Yeah.
Basically for this series. Number 6, anytime somebody cusses. That's anybody in the show, not just the main characters. Anybody cusses.
Yes.
Number 7, something explodes. Number 8, you hear a record scratch. And the final rule that we have in honor of our first episode, or first series, sorry, is hey, look, a squirrel.
Squirrel.
So
yeah, so
those are our rules.
Yeah. Those are the rules for this one. And yeah, on that note, let's talk about them. So
fuck the pilot. Ugh.
Yeah, fuck it.
In this series too. If you remember back when we did Trigun, the first episode kind of screwed us over.
Yeah. This one is no different, and with a different rule. Because for when we did Trigun, the rule that fucked us was the Vash and Vash the Stampede rule. For this one, it was the someone dies rule, because they wreck face in the very first episode, which makes sense because I mean, they want to set up for people to know that, hey,
awesome.
these are some badass characters, and these are these are the stars of the show, and you need to know that.
Yep.
So that happened, and I will say, if you haven't seen them already, it starts to get difficult to count, but do it.
You really got to keep up with it.
Yeah.
One thing that we did, I was kind of keeping track on my fingers, so as we were drinking, I was like, all right, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, and every time I took a drink, I took one down.
Yeah, drop a finger down.
I was just up and down with how much they were dying in between we were drinking. It got insane.
Yeah, it was nuts. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in episode 1, you get introduced to your main characters, who are Mugen, Jin, and Fu. Those are the 3 people. You also get introduced to your goal, which is the reason why all these people are going around together are because Fu wants to find the samurai who smells of sunflowers.
Right.
So,
I guess describing the characters a little bit, as you've seen,
Yep.
we got Mugen, who is our rebel, does whatever the fuck he wants kind of character.
yeah.
His sword style is completely unique. It's his own. It's frantic. It's hectic. It has no definition to it. He basically just break dances and does whatever the hell he wants and wrecks.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, so we're going with Brian as Mugen in this one.
Yeah, that'd be me.
And then on the opposite spectrum, we have Jin. He is our dual wielder. He's got 2 swords on his belt, though he hasn't drawn both of them at the same time once yet. He is our more calm, collected, logical, down-to-earth character. Shut up. Shut up. He analyzes everything. He's very by the book, by the dojo.
Yeah.
Very strict with his discipline, and he's basically anti-Mugen.
Yeah, basically,
like you do. Third character, we have Fu. She is the female protagonist of the series. We find her working at a tea house or whatever it is at the time.
Yeah.
She's working just as a waitress, trying to make ends meet for all we know.
Yes. She also has no parents. We also find that out.
And they're all broke,
Yes.
basically. So the two come into the tea house in episode 1. Well, no, sorry. Mugen comes into the tea house in episode 1 and tries to get her to just feed him.
Basically.
Just because.
Yeah, hey, I'll get rid of all of these guys if you give me some food. Basically.
So she says no, like, you're weird, whatever, and then she ends up getting threatened with death. And so she ends up giving in to Mugen and says, like, I'll give you whatever you want, basically.
Yeah.
And he wrecks space. And that was the first introduction to someone dies.
Yes. Well, yeah, a lot.
And so, before Mugen goes on a full rampage, Jin shows up, and they have their epic first battle.
Yes.
And that's when you see that they're both kind of on equal ground, even though they're so opposite. They just balance each other out, even in their fighting styles, which is really cool.
Yeah.
It makes for some good sword fighting.
Oh, most definitely. And that's one of the things that I really like about this anime, that I liked even the first time that I watched it, is that the graphic style of the anime is so great.
Detailed.
It's so very detailed. There's a lot put into it. Like, it's... I compare it to the caliber of other animes that have movies that get put out, because it's very detailed. All of the action has a lot of detail put into it, and it just makes the entire anime really nice to watch, because it's not a lot of repeated action. It's you can tell that everything that they do is very original. So that's really, really nice. So that's good. The characters are badass, and also they balance each other out really nicely, because Mugen is that very rebel type of character, and Jin is that very to the book type of character. Even though they're both type of Ronin samurais, they play it very differently, and they counterbalance each other very nicely, which is really awesome. So I really like that. Beer.
Yeah. So we have our characters. Like Brian said, we have our plot line. Fu basically wants these guys to accompany her on her journey. She wants to find the samurai that smells of sunflowers. We don't know why. That has not been introduced yet. We will get there as the series continues on, though. And so the first 5 episodes are basically them beginning their journey.
Yeah.
So episode 1 is when they meet, the pilot episode. They begin their journey. Episode 2... sorry, the details.
Well, as you drink, it happens.
Yeah.
What does happen? Oh, episode 2 is when
they
meet. Yes,
the ogre.
Yes, this was something that I really wanted to bring up, because in a lot of other animes, you'll have this thing that happens. I mean, it happens in freaking every one of them, like Pokemon, Naruto, One Piece. It happens in all of them, where as the characters continue their journey, people tend to tack on to the group, and so they continue to build this team of characters. And in this series, the ogre character is a character that in other animes you would instantly see becoming one of the characters in a group, but he ends up dying, and it's crazy because of the fact that you see this shift in character that he has, because he is
he's an ugly motherfucker, basically.
Yes.
From what it seems like half of his face got burnt at one point, because he's such a big dude. I'm assuming that's why they considered him a monster.
Right.
And so they just picked on him and made fun of him for it, and they eventually ended up burning half of his face, and so he's just all kinds of messed up.
Yeah.
And so he's this big brawny character that you would figure would be the bulk strength character that some animes have.
Exactly. They always have one.
And he's basically just an assassin, sword for hire kind of a thing. And so in the first episode, you get this one guy that was the first victim of Mugen's wrath. He cut off his arm because he was talking shit, but he survives.
And he comes back and actually burns the tea house down.
Yeah. And so he survives the burning, comes back, hires this ogre-like dude, and he's basically the first antagonist that the group encounters.
Yeah.
And so he hires this guy to kill off both of them in their own unique way. He hires an assassin to take out Jin. He hires a chick to take out Mugen because he wants to get laid.
Well.
And then he ends up stealing... What the fuck was it? Fu.
Yes.
That one. He ends up stealing Fu, using the ogre guy, and then Fu ends up basically changing his whole mentality of things, because she's the first one that isn't afraid of him based on just his appearance.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing is it's not even really that she changes his mentality. It's more of that she's the one person to recognize him as not this scary monster. He's just a dude.
That's
and so
very
because
sad.
of that, yes. And so because of that, he has this need to protect her. Though, granted, he's still there to carry out his job, which is why when Mugen shows up, he's still there to kill him. But as soon as Fu comes in danger, that's when he's like, no, you're not allowed to kill her because she's the only person who likes me. Which is the point where you would see him becoming part of the team. Mm-hmm. But Mugen is still there to kill him because earlier in that episode, he says, I'm here to hunt an ogre. So he goes in, kills the ogre, of course not knowing anything that's already happened. And it's really interesting because of that whole aspect of knowing how a lot of animes work, he would have been someone who would become an asset to the team in some way, but he just ends up dying instead, which is crazy.
Yeah, but even on that, do you think, based on Mugen's personality, that even if Fu would have told him to stop, do you really think that he would have?
Well, I mean, granted, she did. Whether it fell on deaf ears or not.
But say Fu threw herself in front of the ogre guy to protect him, kind of a thing, because she doesn't want him to die because they're basically friends now.
Right.
Do you think that Mugen would have still stopped himself? It's one of those. It's one of those big what ifs. If you have it's a huge what if right off the bat in the beginning of the series, where this character could have become part of the group. But yeah, so let us know below what you guys think. This is, like I said, it's one of those what ifs. What do you think would happen?
Oh yeah, because
if this would have could have completely changed the anime, basically.
Yeah, we could talk for hours and hours on just that one part, but let's continue on. So there's that episode, and then we move into the episode where
episode 3 and 4 are connected.
Yes.
It's they go into a town, and at the beginning of them, they ditch Fu. So,
basically, they bail out on it real quick.
And so they end up going into this new town, and they're both broke, so they need to find some way to get money. Mm-hmm. And both of them end up becoming bodyguards for 2 different Yakuza clans.
Yeah.
And there's a whole drama scene behind that. The kid of one, who has this tutor, sister, whatever
type person. Yeah. Basically, this person that he ends up looking up to, I'm pretty sure that they end up becoming an item. But I'm pretty sure that it's the girl that he as a child falls in love with. Ends up having to pay off a debt that his not his father.
The girl's father.
Yeah, that the girl's father has to take on. She ends up having to end up in a brothel because of the fact that he has this debt, this gambling debt. So that happens. Fu ends up in the same brothel because she gets kidnapped because she breaks a vase, even though they're just stealing people. And then Mugen ends up part of one of the Yakuza gangs, and Jin ends up part of the other one. So there's this giant clash that happens between the two, and it ends up with the
Yakuza bosses basically have one final gambling game to determine basically everything. The kids' freedom, the territory claim,
all of that stuff, because the kid ends up actually killing one of the members of the opposite Yakuza clan because he wants to save the girl so badly. And so because of that, they take him and they say, listen, we didn't want any bloodshed, we didn't want any of this to happen, so you're going to have to deal with the fact that your son killed one of our clan.
And he does. He owns up and he says, I'll take responsibility for it. And then in the gamble, they each have their own respective bets. If the father of the son, if he won, they were going to let his son go?
Yes.
They were going to let his son go, and there was a second part. Both bets had 2 parts to them.
Yeah, that's true.
I forget what the second part was, but if the opposing Yakuza clan won, he would still let the son go, but he gets claim to the territories.
Yes. Yeah. Or, actually, no. Because it was that if he won, it was that there was going to be a life claimed for the life of the person that he lost, which is why he ended up stabbing himself.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. If he if he lost, he got the territory? Because didn't he say he would lose purposely?
Yeah.
That way he would give the son up, but he... Oh, no, that was the father's bet, is that he would let the son go, but he'd give him his territory, wasn't it? Because then the opposite guy was like, oh, I'll just lose purposely, because then I'll still get his territory.
Yeah. That's what it was, because he didn't care about the bloodshed, he just wanted the land.
Right.
So, yeah, that happens. The Yakuza boss ends up killing himself because the opposite boss wanted to rig the whole thing so that he ended up losing, but that gets messed up when Fu ends up...
being the dice roller.
Yeah, being the dice roller. So he ends up winning instead. The guy kills himself, and then this whole battle ensues.
Which, brace yourself, it happens really fast.
Oh, yeah.
We weren't expecting it. Like, right when it happened, I realized, like, uh-oh, like, this could end up bad really, really quick. And it did. So, in episode 4, have your beer on hand. Have whatever you're using to tally all the deaths. It racked up.
Yeah, there's a lot that happened real quick. So that happens in that episode. And then in episode 5... what in the hell happened? Oh, right. Episode 5 was the artist.
Yeah.
So yeah, in episode 5 we end up meeting this artist character who ends up being a front for this female slave trade. Mm-hmm. And he's basically working for this guy that Jin ends up in a I can't remember the name of the game. It's basically Japanese chess. He ends up in a chess game with him, and so they end up in the entire episode playing this game of chess against each other, and in the end, Jin will either win a bunch of money, or he will
lose his freedom. Basically.
Yeah, he will lose his freedom to the guy. So while all of that is happening, Fu ends up getting painted by this artist who is the front for the slave trade, and then ends up getting captured.
And in the whole meantime, Mugen's just running around robbing a bunch of these Yakuza guys and just
basically
wrecking them.
Yeah, which is hilarious.
Because he robs them once, and everything's fine, because he just goes and buys food, and then he ends up being broke again, because it was supposed to be for the ferry toll that they wanted that was the whole point. They needed money for the ferry. So he spends all of his money, gets food, fill himself up like you do, and he realizes he's broke, so he goes and finds them again. And in the meantime, they had gone back to their boss. You're like, oh, I'm so sorry, this guy robbed us. Like, we don't have any money. She's like, so she gives him more money. Says, don't let it happen again. If you find him again, like, kill him. That whole thing. And then he shows up and he's like, yo, what's up? Long time no see.
Give me all your money.
And then he just fucking runs away.
Yeah.
And Mugen ends up chasing him, and it's funny.
Yeah. And so this episode is basically kind of a filler episode, but the good thing about it, it's kind of a filler episode because it's them
kind of progressing in their adventure, but at the same time,
it doesn't. I mean, it's one of those things where
it's unnecessary information.
Yes, compared to the beginning and the end of the episode, nothing really changes. Everybody is still fine and they move forward. But the one thing that I like about this one is because of the fact that it's so short. All of the episodes are basically a lot of these short stories leading up to them ending up finding whoever the samurai is, as far as I can remember. So yeah, that's the first 5 episodes. We can already tell that the episode or the rule that's going to mess us up is the death rule. Yeah, so be prepared for that. And
it doesn't happen in every episode, but the episodes that it does happen, it happens a lot and very fast.
Yeah, specifically because in episodes, the 3rd and 4th episode, like a lot of the 3rd episode, you don't drink a whole lot, and then half of the 4th, you really don't. But then it'll catch up really quickly. So yeah, that's the end of this episode for episodes 1 through 5 of Samurai Champloo. Next week we will do episodes 6 through 10, and we will comment on them as we do. So make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, make sure to put your comments, make sure to put your video responses, because we want to know how you feel about all of the things we talk about, and about this anime in general. So, yeah, until then, we'll see you guys next time. Adios.
Sayonara.
That's Spanish and Japanese. Fucking not.